Not another bomb. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Not another bomb. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. And thanks for coming out today to build this collective movement together. My name is Whitney. I'm going to be one of the MCs today. I'm a proud anti-Zionist Jewish educator, a democratic socialist, and one of the defendants in the ongoing I-5 case. And shout out to the CTAC 46, who just got all the charges dropped, because protesting is not a crime. It's been 308 days since the invasion of Gaza began. The entire world has united for peace and justice for Palestinians. In May, the ICC called for the arrest of Netanyahu. In July, the ICJ declared the West Bank settlements illegal. But just 2 weeks later, U.S. Congress hosted Netanyahu's visit to the U.S. The only thing keeping this genocide going is the continued support by the U.S. for bankrolling it. And that's why we're out here today. I'm happy that Biden stepped down and that Harris looks more likely to beat Trump, but millions of people were disheartened to hear that Harris continues to oppose a weapons embargo to Israel. We are here today because we can't limit our sights to just defeating Trump when the current administration is funding a genocide. Genocides cannot be written off as the lesser evil, and we cannot defeat fascism domestically by supporting it abroad. Not another bomb. Israel's war is guaranteed revenue for companies like Boeing. In June, Israel dropped a Boeing-made bomb on a Gazan school. On August 10th, they did it again and killed 100 more people. In fact, Boeing is one of the top arms dealers for Israel. And this year, they donated over $400,000 to both political parties and over $100,000 to both political candidates for president, making sure that whoever is in office will keep this genocide going. And that makes it tough. We need Kamala Harris to break with Biden's policy, to end this war with a clear arms embargo against Israel. In the long run, we need a political party that refuses to take the corporate blood money. But in the meantime, we need to use every tool at our disposal to put maximum pressure on Harris and the Democratic Party to do the right thing. This is not a foreign war. This is another American war in the Middle East, paid for by our tax dollars, benefiting American corporations, executed through the U.S.'s client state of Israel. That's why we're here. This is a U.S. war. And we are not alone. There are 88 other Not Another Bomb events going on across this country this weekend. We have uncommitted and ceasefire delegates going to the DNC, and our job is to amplify their message. Not another bomb. Not another bomb. Not another bomb. As speakers come up here, I want you to do something. I want you to think, because all of them are involved in ongoing organizing efforts. If you hear something that resonates with you, please reach out to them. Please get involved. To win Palestinian liberation, to end the occupation and the apartheid, we need people to be in it for the long haul. So if this is your first action today, we are so happy that you're here. Please don't let this be your last. Get involved with one of the groups you're going to hear from today. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to my co-MC.
Thanks, Whitney. Let's cheer for him real quick. Hi, I'm Madison. I am a Palestinian American, and I have to believe that Americans will stand for against violence in Palestine once and for all. Otherwise, my insides are going to curdle like acid in milk. I want to thank each of you for standing with us today as we demand an arms embargo from Harris just before the Democratic National Convention tomorrow. As an arms embargo is not only a moral act, it is the first pertinent action to meet the call from an overwhelming majority of voters in the U.S. demanding a ceasefire. Just in April, the Senate agreed to send over $17 billion in military aid to Israel. U.S.-backed Israelis benefit from universal health care and housing initiatives, whilst their Palestinian counterparts are maimed and displaced. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., we stand on stolen land and watch as our government has proposed increasingly insidious policies towards the bodies of women and trans folks and the unhoused. We have seen the IOF-trained police continue to be violent to Black and brown people, namely recently with the murder of Sonia Massey. We voters and activists know that every struggle for liberation is interconnected and that none of us are free until all of us are free. Living in a nation that has over 800 military bases in 80 plus countries, while the rest of the world combined has only 34 military bases, we are aware of the power of our nation's actions. We cannot co-sign the funding of genocide anywhere, not in Palestine, not in Sudan, not in Congo, not in our name. The U.S. must immediately stop arming Israel, and the Democratic Party has a moral responsibility to stand with their constituents, as well as the people of Gaza. As Israel's bombing of Gaza escalates, we see a constant stream of evidence of sexual violence and beheadings by IOF soldiers. We have to ask, when will the U.S. deem the violence is enough? Harris has a past we cannot deny of unjust incarceration and for co-signing policies which will make the current administration live in infamy as the violent and evil forever. The least she can do is ensure a change in the status quo of U.S. foreign policy to end the last 10 months of suffering. Palestinians deserve to live freely from the river to the sea. Hey Harris, if you want Trump to win, just say that. Otherwise, I am Palestinian and I'm speaking. Not another bomb or not my vote. Thank you. All right, from the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Thank you.
All right, let's give it up again for Madison. So our first speaker is coming up. Now, it is easy for politicians to bend the knee to powerful corporations, but our first speaker is not your average politician. He is unbought, and that is a very rare thing in our country. You may know him from walking picket lines with hotel workers or educators. He's championing rent control, a wealth tax, rights for incarcerated workers, and student loan cancellation. He has consistently stood for Palestinian liberation despite the blowback because he is on the side of the people. And as a democratic socialist, he knows that all our struggles are interconnected and none of us are free until all of us are free. He is going to be the next Washington State representative from this very area, the 43rd Legislative District, and we know he's going to win because he stands for the people and the people stand with him. Give it up for Sean Scott.
You know, there are those who have said in a presidential election year that those of us who are pressing the issue on ending the ongoing violence in Palestine and stopping the genocide, that we're the ones who are divisive. And when I look out into the crowd today, I don't see division, I see a lot of unity. I see solidarity. I see countless union organizations that are here every day. Residents of the 43rd Legislative District and of our city that are coming out, dedicating our time on a Sunday afternoon. to a show of force and saying that we're not with what's going on in Palestine and we don't want to see continued violence against the people of Palestine in our name and with our tax dollars. In the 43rd Legislative District, we're 70% renters. We are the district that has had the highest rates of support, or had precincts that had the highest rates of support for the Uncommitted campaign. In our legislative district, we have repeatedly spoken out against local lawmakers at all levels of government that have been complicit with what's happening in Palestine. And regardless of what happens in this election cycle, I know that we're going to continue to make our voices heard on this issue because we care about doing what's right by the people of Palestine. In the course of this campaign, for the 43rd LD, we've rolled out a 4-point platform that is all about addressing what's going on in Palestine right now and ending the violence and showing solidarity. The first component of it is having the state of Washington join the handful of state and local governments that have called for a ceasefire and a right of return for the people of Palestine. The second commitment is having the state of Washington actually put a material commitment towards benefiting people of Palestinian descent that are in our state that are suffering the trauma from what has happened there. That involves, at present, the state of Washington is dedicating $470,000 a year to the Ukrainian American community in their time of need at a beleaguered time for them. There's no reason why we could not be doing at least as much for people of Palestinian descent in our state. The third component of it is we've talked about making sure that we're continuing to track and resist attempts to criminalize protests, whether they come from other Democrats or they come from the right wing. We're so happy to see the CTAC 46 get exonerated this week, but we know there are going to be continued attempts to keep people from speaking out on this issue, and we want to push back against that wherever we can, in the state legislature, in our city halls, wherever we can. The fourth component has to do with enacting a munitions tax in the state of Washington. If we're not going to be a state that's brave enough to say we're going to hold major corporations that are complicit in this genocide to account, the very least that we can be doing is making sure that war is not profitable in the state of Washington, and enacting that munitions tax and directing that revenue to funding basic services that we all use is the very least that we can do in the state of Washington. Over the last several months, it might not feel like it, we're winning on this issue. We're winning the PR battle on this issue. We're winning the perception battle on this issue. We're winning the ground game on this issue because we're going to continue to be unrelenting and speaking out about what is right and doing right by the people of Palestine. So it's so heartening to see so many residents of the 43rd LD, so many Seattleites, people from so many different backgrounds coming out and taking part in a long-standing tradition that we have in Seattle, which is calling the bullshit out when we see it. And we're not going to stand for it anymore. And we're going to win. It's so great to be here with everybody.
Give it up again for Sean Scott. All right. And there are tables around if you want to get involved in his campaign, helping him win in November. Our next speaker. Well, before we do that, let's do a little more singing. Fund homes, not bombs. Build schools, not bombs. High-speed rail, not bombs. Healthcare, not bombs. Build homes, not bombs. Build schools, not bombs. Build parks, not bombs. Anything but bombs. Not another bomb. This is a musically talented group here. So all over the West Bank, homes are being stolen, with over 700,000 Israelis living in illegal settlements. In Gaza, Israeli real estate companies are already posting plans for building beach houses. Housing is a human right, but not something to be stolen. Palestinians deserve the right to return home. Right next to this park the once black majority Central District has been almost completely displaced. And we are, of course, on the stolen land of the Coast Salish people, with the Duwamish tribe still denied federal tribal recognition. Our next speaker is a housing activist. As part of Stop the Sweeps, they have supported hundreds of our unhoused neighbors at the brutal sweeps that our city is prioritizing. As a board member of House Our Neighbors, they helped pass I-135 initiative for social housing and have gotten I-137 on the ballot this year to tax rich businesses in order to fund it. They're a true believer in housing for all, and as a recently elected para-educator board member of my union, the Seattle Education Association, they helped us pass an early ceasefire resolution back in November. This is someone who's here for the people. Give it up for Jeff.
Thanks, Whitney. And thank you all for being here. This is really amazing to see so many folks here. I do just want to quickly name before I start how wonderful it would be if we were all sitting in a garden right now. As Whitney said, my name is Jeff. I'm a paraeducator in Seattle Public Schools in a special education program and a proud member of Seattle Education Association, which is our local affiliate for the National Education Association, which I'm very proud to say is one of many national unions that have called for an arms embargo against sending more weapons to Israel. Very cool, love to see it, but we gotta do more. Additionally, as Whitney said, I'm part of House Our Neighbors, I'm on the board, and we managed to pass I-135 with the help of so many of you. We turned out hundreds and hundreds of volunteers to gather over 70,000 signatures between I-135 and I-137, which is amazing to see because the people of Seattle know that we desperately need the housing. So thank you all, clap it up for that. Excited that we have this on the ballot in February. We're gonna be voting to tax the rich so that we can actually have some affordable housing. Those are my main areas, education and housing. So when I heard about this, that we're trying to fund schools, not weapons, and fund housing, not genocide, I was like, wow, two of my favorite things. So I was really excited when I was invited to speak, and I'm happy to be with you all today. But I do just want to start out by saying that even if ending the bombing, ending our support for Israel resulted in zero domestic spending, it would absolutely be the right thing to do. It's absolutely worth it. We have to stop it just on international solidarity grounds, just for humanitarian reasons. We can talk about what we want to do with this funding, but most importantly, it could all be thrown down the drain. I wouldn't care. We gotta stop the bombing. We gotta save these lives. But when we are talking about domestic issues here, there's some real big issues that we need to start talking about. We need to pay attention to. Housing, I don't need to tell anybody here, housing is a crisis. We see people living on the streets, we see families unable to make the rent, and we need to do something about it. Which is why House Our Neighbors came together. Which is why Stop the Sweeps came together. We're mobilizing hundreds of community members to address these issues. And I love to see it. I'm so proud of these efforts. I'm so incredibly proud that we've gotten hundreds of people in the streets and we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to pass these initiatives. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little sad that we have to do it. Because these are ultimately federal issues. Housing is a federal policy, and the federal government could make the decision to fund our housing programs, but instead they're sending bombs, billions of dollars of bombs, planes, weapons, and munitions abroad and leaving our people here in the streets. Shame on them. This goes back decades. It was back in 1976 or something like that. The federal government gutted the housing program, gutted spending for public housing, and it has never recovered. So we've seen decades and decades and decades of divestment as we've only seen the military-industrial complex grow, and that has got to change. And it's the same story with education. This is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this year marks the 50th year from when the federal government passed IDEA, which is federal legislation, for those who don't know, that promises free and appropriate education for students with special needs, special education students. 50 years ago, they made this pledge saying that these students also deserve free and adequate education. And as a part of that commitment, they said the federal government would spend 40% of the money needed to educate every one of these students. They have never met that commitment. That has never happened. Currently, shame. These are some of the most vulnerable students in our school districts, and they need so much support. They need so much support than they're getting. And educators need support so that we can teach these students and provide them a genuine education. And it's just not happening from the federal level. Instead of spending the 40% that they said they would spend, they're currently spending about 13% of the cost. Less than half. Less than half. And then people get on podiums and they talk about how this election cycle, we need to focus on domestic issues and not stuff going on abroad, genocide, not these, things that aren't related to our domestic issues. They're intrinsically related. They're intrinsically connected. Every time we allocate money, it's a policy choice. And instead of spending money killing people abroad, killing children, we should be educating our children here at home. So I'm very excited. There are tons of campaigns going on. People here at the local level fighting for housing. You can get involved. House Our Neighbors is going to be doing a huge get out the vote effort. I'm so stoked that people are doing it, but I'm still sad. And it's the same at the state level. Look out for the Big 5 campaign coming up. You'll see a bit more about it soon. We're pushing for progressive revenue at the state level to fund our schools and fund special education. But again, this is really on the federal government. They need to hear us that we don't want money going to genocide. We don't want money going for bombs. We need money here spent on our children and our futures. Thank you very much. Free Palestine.
All right, one more time for Jeff. All right, and to those of you in the shade, I hear y'all. And for anyone that's like spread out for social distancing purposes, you do you. But if we want to kind of come in together closer, we can really uplift our voice as we chant for Palestine. No pressure if you want to stay where you are. Free, free Palestine!
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 All right. Up next, we've got Fatima with Palestiniat. She's an organizer with Palestiniat, a Seattle-based grassroots collective of Palestinian diasporic feminists who live and organize at the intersection of gender justice, anti-imperialism, and anti-colonialism. Palestiniat was one of the organizations that has been leading the Palestinian Solidarity Movement in Seattle since the beginning, and the anti-imperialist feminist lens that they bring to the struggle has in many ways never been more important than right now. Fatima.
Intersectional feminism strives to empower individuals through genuine support, addressing the diverse inequalities faced by marginalized people globally and ensuring that everyone's humanity is honored and valued. Simply identifying as a woman doesn't make someone a feminist or a strong advocate for feminist principles. True feminism involves actively working to address these issues and prioritize the needs of marginalized communities. Kamala Harris has failed to act in alignment with these principles. It is fundamentally contradictory to promote a ceasefire while simultaneously funding a genocide and claiming her support for Israel. Shame. As these actions are directly opposed. A ceasefire aims to halt violence and protect lives, yet the US has recently approved $20 billion in arms sales to Israel, including fighter jets, missiles, and other military equipment designed to escalate and prolong the genocide and occupation. As Palestinian feminists, we understand that imperialism doesn't just conquer lands, it conquers bodies and minds. Our system might make you believe that change is possible based on its candidates, But when the same harmful forces are elected, our people continue to suffer and die. Placing faith in a system responsible for multiple genocides and hoping for change from someone who has supported such actions since the beginning of Biden's term does not align with meaningful change that humanity deserves. The idea of a lesser evil is flawed in the face of genocide. Choosing a lesser evil only perpetuates harm and normalizes violence, undermining efforts for true justice. Supporting even a smaller wrongdoing means you're still complicit in the broader problem. Kamala Harris has engaged in actions that are inconsistent with the values of true feminism and justice. Her record includes harmful stances on incarceration, immigration, and support for damaging policies, which shows she is far from being a true advocate for meaningful change.
That's right.
We must apply pressure on Harris and all of those responsible for imperialist actions to expose their corruption, misconduct, and failures. After all, we are accountable for each other's well-being. As Ijeoma Oluo said, people will come and say, we have to take care of us first, our people first. Well, some of us have different definitions of us and our people. For some of us, it's a broader definition than for others. The fight for a free Palestine is closely tied to our own quest for freedom. When we work for the rights and liberation of Palestinians, we are also working towards our own freedom and justice. As members of a grieving diaspora, we know that imperialism's reach extends beyond borders to affect every facet of life. The recent $18.8 to $20 billion in arms deal with Israel is an example of how the US continues to support destructive policies. Over 140,000 Palestinians have been martyred, and it is our duty to call out to Kamala Harris for what she represents. A continuation of the same oppressive systems that have devastated our lives. How can we advocate for abolition and a free Palestine and a better world while accepting Harris as the lesser evil? It is our responsibility to change and demand accountability from those who perpetuate these injustices, not to settle for mere tokenism or the illusion of progress. As artists, we must envision liberation and continue having conversations around dismantling these oppressive systems. We are too deep in loss, death, and grief to support systems that have already failed to protect us. In addition to holding these scum lords accountable, we must also actively support tangible efforts to aid to Palestinians in Gaza. While very minimal humanitarian aid is entering Gaza due to the Israeli occupation's blockade, there are still merchant-specific crossings that remain open for merchants to sell in the market, but these goods are sold at extremely inflated prices due to the ongoing gouging of prices. The people of Gaza have no choice but to buy items at these exponential prices, and the only way they can do so is with global financial solidarity and our support. Please consider donating to a list of resources my friend has put together to donate for food, water, tents, cash, eSIMs, and other essential goods for Gazans. I have a QR code, and we will be passing out flyers. If you can please pass on the flyers to your community, and whenever you get your paycheck, to continue donating and to continue reminding your communities to donate.
Yes.
Thank you for your continuous support. Long live the resistance. I also want to remind you that there's an action next week to take the streets for Palestine at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Please follow PYM and Falastiniyat for more information on the location. Thank you.
Please give it up again for Fatima. Wealth of knowledge to drop on us for free. Looks like the flyers are right up here up front, so you can come get some. Free Palestine. 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 Palestinians have the right to return. Palestinians have the right to return. Not another bomb. Not another bomb. Not another dime. Not in our name. Free Palestine. In October, we all faced the question, what would we do to stop a genocide? Would we sit by or take action? And our next speaker has shown time and again that they are willing to give their whole self for Palestinian liberation. He's a fellow Democratic Socialist, a rank and file member of the United Auto Workers, which was the first national union in the US to call for a ceasefire. He's really been the glue in Seattle DSA, organizing over 100 of us in ongoing Palestinian solidarity work week after week, taking action to support other groups' leadership in solidarity. And I would say again, next Sunday, 1 o'clock, the action, follow PYM and Falastiniyat to find out about that. And in building a local BDS campaign to spread the movement to those who are not yet involved. At every step of this movement, this next speaker has led with relentless work, has taken on new roles and challenges, and with a clear focus on combating US imperialism, which is at the core of the conflict. Give it up for Carl Thomas.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
So I'm Coral. As Whitney said, I'm a rank file member of UAW 4121, and I'm proud to be out here with so many other rank and file union members fighting for liberation, and with so many of you out who have shared this stage and out in the crowd, because to be a fighter for Palestine is perhaps the greatest challenge of our lifetimes and the greatest honor that any of us can take. As fighters for Palestine, we have faced so much: police repression, blacklisting, doxing, terrible smears, false accusations of anti-Semitism. So many people here have faced criminal charges. So to be up here, it's an incredible honor, and we should all take a huge amount of pride in what we're doing and fighting for Palestine, because to fight for Palestine is not easy. But we should remember that as hard as we are fighting, the Palestinian people are fighting even harder for their own liberation. They will never stop fighting until the final victory. It's our responsibility to fight with them shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, until final liberation. I've been thinking a lot in the last 10 months about what it means to be a socialist in this movement, and I've drawn back time and again to the words of the great revolutionary leader of the Black Panther Party, Angela Davis. I'm paraphrasing, but she said to be a socialist is to have a great love for the people, to love all of the people, and to fight for their liberation. And that's why we're up here. But there's another reason I'm up here as a socialist. And that's because, as so many speakers have already alluded to, the fight of the Palestinian people for liberation and our own fight for liberation can never be disentangled. There's only one fight, there's only one movement, and that's for the end of colonization, the end of poverty, the end of war. We should ask why it is that we can send tens of billions of dollars to a genocidal regime carrying out a war on the Palestinian people. When I mean war, I mean total war, a war of extermination, of ethnic cleansing. How is it that we can send tens of billions of dollars, but we can't house the homeless? We can't provide medicine for the sick or education for the masses. Shame. I think we don't need to look any farther than that creep Adam Smith. Biggest donors, AIPAC, Raytheon, Boeing. The reality is there are a lot of people in this city, a lot of people in this country, in this world who don't want this war to end. They're making a hell of a lot of money off of it. And they're donating to the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party. That's why, after months and months of protests, the president has approved $20 billion in future arms sales, as other speakers have alluded to. Shame. So what does that mean? What does it mean to be out here protesting in a system where our political representatives don't represent us? We know the vast majority of this country opposes this war, opposes this genocide. So what the hell is our so-called democracy doing if the interests of our people and the interests of the Palestinian people are not at the forefront? Does that mean that these protests don't have an impact? We would be dead wrong to think that protest doesn't matter. Pressure makes a difference. The Democratic Party establishment and the Republican Party establishment are scared of our movement, and every dollar not sent to Palestine is a bomb not dropped on the people of Gaza. But it also means that we have to think strategically. We have to think towards the future. What will it take to end U.S. support, end U.S. imperialism, end the Israeli colonization, end the genocide? You know, I've also returned a lot in the last few months to a story that I often think of. It's a story of this little group down in Mexico called the Zapatistas. Who here has heard of the Zapatistas before? Well, if you haven't, the Zapatistas, they're down in the southern state of Chiapas. Some call them anarchists, some call them socialists. I think, like a lot of you, they probably reject those labels. You know, they're doing their own thing. But there's a lot of parallels between what happened in Chiapas and what's happening in Palestine. For as far back as anyone could remember, since Spanish colonialism, a group of corrupt landlords and their running dogs in the political class and the military had pushed indigenous people off their land. Sound familiar? They had worked peasants to death. But back in 1994, the Zapatistas got organized and they were smart. One day they pushed into the cities, they pushed those landlords out, and they reorganized society for human need, not for private profit. They gave land back. Land back now. And now, when you go to Chiapas, you'll be greeted by signs, and you'll have to forgive my accent. They say, aquí manda el pueblo y el gobierno obedece. Here the people command and the government obeys. That's what we're fighting for. You know, I'm just a white guy from West Virginia, so if my Spanish isn't so good, you'll forgive me. But from West Virginia to Palestine, from Seattle to South Africa, that's what we need. A system that works for the people, not for the interests of the colonialists, not for the imperialists, not for big business. But we have to build that system. No one is going to do it for us, not the Democratic Party, sure as hell not the Republican Party. We've got to build it ourselves. Protest is important, but it's not enough, and that's why we launched our campaign to boycott war profiteers. We need to send a message in this city, in this state, in this country, across the world, that if you, as a business, support the genocide of the Palestinian people, you can get lost. We're going to cut economic ties with Boeing, with Microsoft, with McDonald's, with all of the companies profiting off of this genocide. When we say arms embargo now, we can build that arms embargo here in Seattle. BDS is part of that. We've started by building a consumer boycott here in the city, but we know it's going to take more. We know we need to build independent political power so that we don't have to rely on the two parties committed to Zionism. We've got to take this fight to the ballot. You know, we've got to get this a ballot initiative to say, divest now. So I'll just leave you with a couple thoughts. One, If you believe in the need to build a mass movement, to get organized, to build the infrastructure to fight back, check out our campaign, Boycott War Profiteers. We've got a beautiful banner and table set up there. If you're a member of an organization fighting for Palestinian liberation, we have to be in this fight together. We have to build this fight between all of us. Come talk to us, let's work together, let's find a path forward as the movement together. We're always stronger together. Got one final message for the war profiteers, for the weapons manufacturers. Get the hell out of Seattle. Out of our city now. So I'll leave you with that. And if you feel that heart beating in your chest, that's a heart that beats for the liberation of Palestine. Solidarity forever.
All right. So Carl mentioned Adam Smith, and if you're not aware, his opponent is over here, Melissa Chaudhry. If you'd like to learn more and help get involved in someone who actually supports us. And with that in mind, the people united will never be defeated.
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 The biggest lie that justifies this genocide is that to be pro-Palestine is to be anti-Semitic. Could not be further from the truth. Judaism has a long and proud heritage of anti-Zionists who believe that never again means never again for anyone. Our movement would not be where it is today without Jewish Voice for Peace. They were ready from day one to stand up against the big lie and take action, clearly showing that Jews demand a ceasefire now. Jen Greenstein is a JVP activist, an educator, and a true voice for peace.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Jen, and I'm honored to speak to you on behalf of Jewish Voice for Peace Seattle. I have been involved with this chapter since its formation in 2005. The uncommitted movement is actually so very committed. We're committed with our hearts and our souls. In solidarity, we demand a permanent ceasefire now. And an end to U.S. military funding of Israel. End this racist genocide and occupation of Palestinians and Palestine. Not another bomb. Not another bomb. We are committed to stopping bombs from disabling, traumatizing, torturing, and slaughtering tens and tens of thousands of beautiful children and adults, and also animals, trees, land, medical facilities, schools, and mosques. Shame. We are enraged and heartbroken. We say not another bomb. Not another bomb. Not one more fucking bomb. It's election season, and we hear about economic policy, food and housing costs, healthcare, quality of life in the United States. We demand investment in life rather than the destruction of Palestine. This genocide wouldn't be possible without billions and billions of our US tax dollars. As a Jewish person, I have extra responsibility to speak out because Israel claims to speak for all Jews. But the Israeli military and government does not represent the Jewish people. As a descendant of people who survived the Nazi Holocaust, I grew up with the phrase, never again. But never again means never again for anyone. Do not weaponize our Jewish grief from the Nazi Holocaust and from October 7th. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. Zionists use accusations of anti-Semitism to cover up their crimes. Shame. Not in my name as a Jew, not with my tax dollars as an American. Zionism opposes the Jewish values that I hold dear. Since the Zionist project began in the late 1800s, there were always Jews opposed to it. While Zionists claim that Israel was formed on a land without a people for a people without a land, we know this isn't true. As a Jew, I can go to Israel and become a citizen. The Israeli government would encourage me to inhabit, to settle, to steal Palestinian land without consequence. Shame. My dear friend Marcella, whom I met in college, is Palestinian. In 1948, her family was violently forced from their homes in Palestine, along with over 750,000 others. Since this Nakba, or catastrophe, her family has been unable to return. Yet I can become a citizen. Palestinian Americans pay taxes only to have that money fund the genocide of their own people. And Israel's occupation does not make Jews safe. In addition to violating international law and committing genocide, they are endangering the lives and humanity of Jews in Israel and all over the world. Safety for all will come with justice for all, with community and solidarity around the globe.
Not another dime for Israel's crimes. Not another dime for America's crimes. Not another bomb. Not another bomb. Not another bomb. Not one fucking more bomb. Not another bomb. Let's hear it again for Wafa. Together. Our next speaker is a leader of the Uncommitted Washington campaign, who started the Uncommitted work with Palestinian community members and other impacted folks earlier this year. She has been going non-stop since January, and even right now, she is supporting our ceasefire delegates in Chicago remotely, like even while she's here. And that's no surprise. She's a 30-year organizer for social, racial, economic, and environmental justice who entered the Democratic Party with the Sanders movement in 2016, which drove increased advocacy for Palestinian human rights that has continued to this day. All our movements are connected. She is currently an executive board member for the Washington Democrats, representing Pramila Jayapal's 7th Congressional District, in addition to representing Seattle's 43rd Legislative District. If you've heard of good things coming out of the Democratic Party locally, she's probably had a hand in it. She and so many others have faced backlash, fierce, personal, and political, for challenging the power structure with Uncommitted by daring to stand on the side of Palestinian liberation. Give it up for Amy Madden.
coming together in Seattle today, our uncommitted delegates and their allies are arriving in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention. They have an intense week ahead, bringing our call for immediate and permanent ceasefire and the end to unconditional Israeli military aid to democratic leadership and to the American people. Our delegates and uncommitted leaders send their gratitude to every single one of you for your unceasing support. To the volunteers who organized and knocked on doors, and to the 90,000 Washington voters who chose to send a powerful message for Palestine, thank you. We also thank our Washington State ceasefire delegates who organized at the Washington Democratic Convention to achieve historic and sweeping wins, passing resolutions calling not only for ceasefire, but for restoration of humanitarian aid, and for enforcement of United States law that bars the funding of foreign militaries that commit human rights violations. So many organizations as well have partnered with Uncommitted Washington. DSA has been ready to help every step of the way, including today. And we've had the support of unions, community organizations, and Jewish organizations, too many of each to name. We must remember that the work we have done this year is built upon generations and generations of Palestinian resistance and leadership. Uncommitted Washington is a Palestinian-led movement, and the uncommitted delegates that you all elected are Palestinian. In addition to sending 2 uncommitted delegates to represent our state, we are sending 25 ceasefire delegates. These are advocates for Palestinian human rights who campaigned and won Biden delegate positions in order to support our movement at convention. There are more ceasefire delegates from Washington than from any other state. We're entering month 11 of this fight, and we're tired and we're heartbroken. Some of us have faced backlash or retaliation as power structures shift. Many have lost family or fear for their safety every day. But we will continue on. This movement will not end after the Democratic Convention, and it will not end after the election in November. We will continue to fight for our Palestinian sisters and brothers and siblings until no more bombs fall on children, until every hospital and library and university is rebuilt, until not one more cent is spent killing in our name, and until Palestine is free.
All right, everybody. Well, that was our last speaker, but we're going to come up here and lead you through a chant and also talk to you a little bit before we let you go. Keep in mind also, we've got these tables will be set up until 2, so you got like another 30 minutes to say hi to people and get involved. Yeah, I want to start by saying part of processing the trauma of this genocide is speaking truth to power and naming our grief. I want you to see this grief in yourself, in those around you, and in the Palestinians who keep trying to feel their grief heard. I was talking about grief the other day with another organizer, and we reminded ourselves, where there is immense grief, there too is immense love. I find my hope in our shared grief, in knowing that there is a march next weekend, in knowing that the Palestine Will Live Forever Fest is coming up, I believe on September 21st, someone correct me down. And that's going to be an amazing event to showcase a lot of Palestinian artists, so that's really exciting. So I also want to let you guys know this is my first time getting involved in organizing. So with that said, if today is the first day you've come out, or if you haven't gotten involved in doing more with the art or getting involved in sound or speaking. This was such a beautiful example of how the community could just come together, and I felt super supported. So come on out, come say hi to us, learn about what you can do for next time, and like you just heard, there's plenty of events coming up to get involved in.
So just the last point of just the tables, we have campaigns for Sean Scott, Melissa Chaudry going up against Genocide Adam Smith. We've got a BDS campaign. We've got the QR code of the donations up here. We've got next week's rally. Am I missing anything else? Shout it out. All right, that's a lot of things to get involved in. Cool. All right. Thanks everyone for coming out, and let's do it.
Oh, there's also a vigil on Tuesday night for the martyrs from the Alta Bean massacre. Yes, that's online. Look at Palestinian Youth Movement for that one. All right, speak. Free, free Palestine!
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 Free, free Palestine!